Brother Malcolm said, education is the passport to the future.
It's the real talk, real talk. Yo, it's that real talk, an in-depth conversation, breaking down how the past affects our situations. P. Brown, something critical for your conscience, not that daily nonsense, not swayed by the sponsors. Yeah, I'm black, but my perspective not biased. One God, one race, with a message that's timeless. Online with the message for the mass. It's time to unify or stay divided and distracted.
Brother Malcolm said, education is the passport to the future. What's good, my brothers and sisters? I'm Percy Brown Jr. with Real Talk, coming at you all the way live in about 5 minutes, that is. So let's get down to the biz. This is the final segment of the Ice Cube interview on NBC, and the question that he'll be addressing is violence in hip hop. Then I'll wrap it up when I bring it back and talk about violence in relationship to his answer. So here we have it, Ice Cube on ABC.
What about the issue of whether violence is increased by what these kids see in the videos and the guns and the stuff like that? Are you thinking this is having any impact? Don't you think that a kid listening to a radio station that is talking about zooming in the boom room all day long and shaking butts, and isn't that going to put sex on the minds of kids that may not otherwise, or don't let anybody diss you and they're thinking, I gotta go take care of this person?
Well, see, all rap music is not about that. You've just taken a section of it. Just like all movies aren't pornos. It's just a section of the movie. All movies aren't rated R. So you're just taking a portion and exposing that. The kids of America is violent because America is violent. She deals with her problems with the gun. So how you expect the kids of America not to do the same thing? There's violence in South Africa and in other places in Africa because of the gun. Rap music ain't got nothing to do with that. So they invented the gun, and they've made them very accessible in our community, easy to get to. You know, why is nobody at the Rifle Association talking to them about the guns in our community? No, see, you want to come to the bottom of the barrel. Even if we stop doing the music today, wouldn't nothing change? Because we still have these forces. We still have poverty. We still have frustration. We still have weapons. And there you have it.
Now that's why I had to stay with Ice Cube, because the brother is so real, right? Talking about violence in hip hop, he flipped it, because oftentimes they're always victimizing or re-victimizing the victim, and that's what's been happening to black people when we talk about violence, black on black crimes, or even violence in hip hop. But he put it back on the perpetrator. But he did defend hip hop, and he said that's just only one section, right? Because there's a lot of different messages that come out of hip hop over the last 30 or 40 years. But then he flips it and talks about why America's kids are violent. He says because America is violent. Guns is a part of American culture. We have more guns in our country, in citizens' hands, than we do citizens. Yes, there are about 350 million guns out there in American society, but we have about 325 million with our U.S. population. So what does that say about who we are as a country? Yes, Ice Cube also said that America deals with her problems with the gun. Let's talk about that a little bit. That's always been how America has dealt with any level of conflict, is with the gun and weapons. And let's talk about the first interaction that we had with Europeans. It was with the gun. Europeans invented the gun. When they came into West Africa, that's what they were trading human labor for, guns. So they were bringing chaos and destruction in exchange for human labor, but then they also used the same mechanisms, the guns, to keep us enslaved, to keep us in fear through Jim Crow, and even till today with gun violence. But let's also talk about why we've got so many black guns in our community. Where are they coming from? CNN did a documentary called Chicagoland, and they talked about an informant where he talked about how you could buy crates of guns for $2,000 in the inner cities of Chicago. Where are the guns coming from? There have been stories of trains that have just shown up in inner cities, doors unlocked, and you got guns and ammunition. And I do not know any black people who own gun manufacturing companies. So let's talk about that. Where are all of these illegal issued guns, sometimes military issued guns? How are they ending up in our communities? What has the National Rifle Association said about this? They've been totally silent. But let's talk about the forces that Ice Cube talked about. He talked about the forces of poverty, frustration, and guns. But let's not forget about the influx of cocaine and crack cocaine. So, are black people bringing this into our communities? Who's bringing the drugs into our communities? I don't know any black people who own airplanes that can fly over and get kilos from Latin America and fly it back in. So we really have to start asking who's the real perpetrator when it comes to the oppressive forces that are at play and targeting our community. But again, it goes back to what Ice Cube said in the previous episode. It's about black economics. It's about black unity. And when we bring that type of unity, and I'm not being exclusive because I do believe this, when black people begin to unify, there will be others who will come and join in and fall in line. And I'm talking about my brown brothers and sisters, my yellow brothers and sisters, my white brothers and sisters, people that are about gender rights and equality. I just really believe that we've got to bring the type of leadership back that we had in the 50s and 60s, but this time we should be moving for generational and systemic change. So that's all I got. I'm finished with Ice Cube, so we're about to venture off into the unknown, but hopefully it'll be something that will raise consciousness levels for you, my brothers and sisters. This is Percy Brown signing out. I'll see you next week. Peace out, and Godspeed to the change we want to see.
Real Talk is a subsidiary of Critical Consciousness LLC, a company that helps schools, systems, and companies innovate with a focus on diversity and inclusion. Real Talk is brought to you in part by Madison 365, executive producer of Real Talk, Terrence Jackson, CEO of Up Next Marketing Incorporated. Intro song performed by Keon Andre of Cadence Music Group and produced by Greg Dobie of Unideck Media Group. Follow Percy Brown at www.percybrown.org or on Facebook and Twitter at Percy Brown Jr.